Okay, so before on my previous video, I showed you how to solve for the fault currents on this example using circuit analysis, using your load flow, how to get the pre-fault currents, how to get the pre-fault EMFs, and then how to get the currents per line, the fault currents per phase, sorry. Okay, so I think one of our takeaways from the previous discussion is that you want to solve for the pre-fault conditions first, including the pre-fault voltages and the pre-fault voltages, then the pre-fault EMFs. Okay. Now, I'll show you how do we use the Thevenin equivalent circuit on your fault analysis. So let's use the same example. This is our previous example. So you have the motor and the generator. You have the generator supplying the motor, and then at some time your bus 2 is faulted. It's grounded. It experienced a three-phase fault, a symmetrical fault. So this is what happened. This is what happened. This is the single line diagram. Now, this single line diagram is actually equivalent to this single line diagram, where you can put on this shorted line here, you can put two voltage sources there of equal magnitudes but opposite polarities. So what will happen is that they will just cancel out. Now the voltage of these two voltages, of these two voltage sources, they can be any voltage, but it is important that we use the pre-fault voltage. Okay, so we'll be using the pre-fault voltage as VF, as the fault voltage. Again, they will just cancel out in this diagram. They will just cancel out, so it doesn't really matter what is the voltage, but we'll use the pre-fault voltage for some very specific reason that I'll show now. Okay, so using superposition, we can separate these two voltages using superposition. You can separate those two voltages. So take note, this is the pre-fault voltage. This is the pre-fault voltage. That's the pre-fault voltage at the fault point. Take note, the fault point is at bus 2. Therefore, the pre-fault voltage at that bus, the voltage before the fault happens, is 1 angle 0. So this pre-fault voltage is 1 angle 0. This bus 2 is 1 angle 0. Take note. Now, using superposition, this is what happens here. You have all of the sources. This is basically a modified superposition. All of these back EMFs and then this pre-fault voltage here that is equal to 1 angle 0. So this is basically the normal condition. This is just your normal condition. The voltage here is 1 angle 0. So it's basically this one. That is this one, where you just denote that this voltage is 1 angle 0. And you already know that. Therefore, it doesn't really have an effect. Okay? So it's as if this generator here is not there. So yeah. So this is your normal condition. So we already solved for this. We already know the IM here. Okay? So this is the IM. That's the load current under normal condition. Now, again, this is your representation. This circuit is your representation of this circuit. So I think we can still get this IF. We must still get this IF, IG, and IM for this circuit. So IG is this one, which is essentially just this IM. And then your faulted contribution from the motor is just this negative IM here. And then this fault current from superposition 1 is just the sum of those two. Now on superposition 2, we already considered all of these three on superposition 1. So what's left is this voltage here, positive on the ground. Okay, so since we already considered the other voltages, so we can just short them out. I hope you know how to perform superposition. So here I have the fault current for 2, and then fault current from generator, fault current from motor. So on 1, the fault current from the generator is just Im. I already discussed that. The fault current from the motor is just negative Im. And the fault current from 1, the total fault current is just the sum of those two. So it's just this Im plus negative Im that is equal to 0. So that's the fault current on 1. So yeah, again, this is just normal condition, so you don't actually have a fault current there. Now, if you look at superposition 2, you actually have KVL here. Yeah, you can perform KVL here. This is a closed loop, and then you can get the fault current from G2. Same is for this closed loop fault current from M2. So you get this. This is actually 1 over angle 0 divided by 0.3i. 1 angle 0 divided by 0.1i. So you get the fault current on 2 as negative J 13.33. So the total fault current is just fault current from 1 plus fault current from 2. Again, this is 0, so it's basically just fault current from 2. Okay, and then from the generator, it's fault current from 1 plus fault current from 2. It's 3.74. For the motor, it's 9.60. Angle negative 91 for motor, angle negative 85 for generator. So it's basically the same as this one. This is generator, this is your motor. So you basically have the same, you basically get the same value if you use either solutions. I think it is just easier to do it this way, because we don't solve for EG and EM. Okay, so we don't solve for EG and EM here, so I guess it's easier this way. We just solve for IM. Okay, so now take note that the final currents are a lot closer to circuit 2. This is your final currents. 13, negative 90, and that's, I guess it's easy to say on the total fault current, because the total fault current is just your fault current on the second superposition representation, because the first representation just adds up to 0. However, if you look at the contributions from the generator and the motor, the total generator contribution is 3.74 angle negative 85 versus 3.33 angle negative 90 if you just consider G2. If you consider G1, it's actually IM, which is 0.5 angle, what is that angle? Negative 53. So this from G2 has a very, very big contribution to the total. It's as if your G1 is negligible. Same is for M1. This 9.6 angle negative 91 is a lot closer to 10 angle negative 90 versus 0.5. So what I'm saying here is that this circuit has a major role in determining the fault currents. It's actually this circuit. In some cases, actually, we drop off this first circuit because the pre-fault currents are actually negligible. So if we consider just this circuit, as you can see, you just have 1 voltage here and all of the currents and all of the impedances here, shorting all of these sources. And what you're actually getting is a Thevenin equivalent circuit. You have the Thevenin equivalent voltage here at the fault point as the pre-fault voltage, and all of these impedances, the combination of them will be your Thevenin impedance, such that your fault current is just your Thevenin voltage divided by your Thevenin impedance. So that's that's actually an easy way to solve for the fault. So you ignoring the fault, the pre-fault currents. Of course, you can still incorporate them by solving first for the Thevenin, and then as you can see, this is the Thevenin currents, this is the pre-fault current. So you can just solve for this since this is the major component of your fault currents, and then add these pre-fault currents later on. So this is your fault current without pre-fault currents. This is your fault current with pre-fault currents. Okay, so how do you get the pre-fault currents? You just use load flow because it's just your normal condition current. Okay, so that's it for the Thevenin. That's how you use Thevenin equivalent circuit on fault analysis. So you just get the TEC at the fault point. That's why it's very, very important that you know how to identify a fault point. I guess for this example, we assume that the fault happens at the bus. So there are times where the fault happens in between, somewhere within the line, a certain percentage of the line. So it's just like for this example, we assumed that your fault happened here. For some cases, your fault may happen somewhere 50% of the line or 30%. But yeah, there are other approaches for that. But for now, let's just assume that your faults happen at the bus terminals. Okay, so I guess that's it for the TEC.